I am trusting autofocus today, which I don't generally like to do. But so anyway, today is kind of a crazy day, and I wanted to share something today because it was heavily on my mind, and I think that it's something that many people can relate to, and it will resonate with quite a few people. Not everybody, but a lot of people. So, first of all, I am at my parents' cemetery, the parents who raised me, my adoptive parents, and actually this is where a lot of I'm Not Hers, my movie, takes place. But I'm not going to talk about that at all today. But I just want to tell you where I am. It's kind of beautiful here, up in Spring Valley, New York, in Rockland County. No, I'm not in the Bronx today, I'm not home. So anyway, here's what I want to talk about. So I don't know if you ever heard of it. There was a documentary on CNN called Three Identical Strangers. It was pretty popular, and it was about these triplets who were separated at birth and adopted out to different families, but nobody was told. They just separated these kids at birth and sent them out to different families. I don't even think any of them spent time in foster care. I think they were just adopted right away as infants. And then they were actually part of an experiment, which is pretty nefarious and disgusting. Louise Wise, the agency, which happens to be the agency that I came from, was conducting an experiment of nature versus nurture. So the thing was, they sent these kids to different families, and they wanted to see how these kids would develop separated from one another, and if they would be more influenced by the nurturing of their adoptive families or the nature of the family that they were born to. So, and a social worker, kept going back and following them and documenting things, but never told them why they were doing this. It was just like an experiment. And so none of these kids, there were 3 boys, none of them knew that they had 2 siblings out there in the world. They thought they were an only child, adopted to another family. They knew they were adopted, so they knew they had a biological mother that they didn't know anything about, but they didn't know that they had a sibling or siblings. So anyway, if you're really interested in that story, Google it. I think you can see it on Hulu now, but it was a pretty big documentary on CNN. Eventually they found each other totally randomly. It's an amazing story, and it's a pretty tragic story as well. So here's my whole thing. I think partially due to that show, but also due to a lot of activism in the adoption community, and a lot of activism for people who were advocates of what are called first mothers, which are mothers who give birth to a child and then are either coerced or just basically forced to give up their child for adoption. And these women, like many of them, just never recover from this emotion. Can you imagine? Imagine giving up your child. Like, imagine having a baby, right? This beautiful little child, and everybody, what's it like in your family when a baby's born? It's like all crazy, happy, loving, joy. Imagine having to give that baby up right away. Imagine that if it's not your choice, which, I've come to find out that in most cases, it is not the mother's choice. It's either a young girl who can't really advocate for herself, who's convinced that she can't do it, she can't take care of this kid. Sometimes they're threatened with jail, all kinds of crazy stuff happens. So imagine giving that child up. So anyway, I think due to that show, I'm kind of all over the place today, so I'm sorry. But I think due to that documentary, at least in New York State, the laws changed. It used to be that your biological information, your original birth certificate, like your pre-adoption certificate, and all the information about you, everything, was sealed by the state. So it was illegal for you to get this information about you, which is a whole other issue too. But anyway, so this information was finally released by New York State, and I was born in New York, so that means that I can get my original birth certificate. Okay, so the thing for me is that, think it's well documented at this point that I found my biological mother's family. I didn't meet her, but I did get in contact with somebody from her family who was my cousin, my first cousin, which is insane to me. And like his mother was my biological mother's sister. Like my biological grandmother's sister was his mother. Yeah, so it's complicated. But anyway, I was finally able to get access to my original birth certificate, which is deep for me because the thing is, you know, most of the time the only thing people really talk about is the mother, you know? Like people are always searching for their mother, they're searching for their mother, the mother's searching for the child. They've made movies about it. You know, Philomena is about a mother searching for her child that she gave up for adoption when she was 17 years old. Secrets and Lies is a woman pretty much looking for her mother. Anyway, the narrative is usually about the mother. Sometimes they include the father, but I've always been very curious about my biological father because the story that I was told was that my biological mother refused to give any information about him, which made me feel like there was something bad around that, you know? And so being a writer by trade, you know, how I earn my living is writing plays and writing songs and writing films, and I created all kinds of stories about my biological father. None of them any good, you know? And then I realized, like, what am I doing? I don't know anything. You know, I'm creating these horrible stories about this man that I actually know nothing about. And so, you know, the other thing is that nobody knows anything about him. Like, there's no records about him or his family. And also the story is, which I don't know if it's true, but the story is that my biological mother never told my biological father that she got pregnant. So this guy would have no idea that I was even born, that I even existed, that he had a child, you know? And the other part of the story is that, you know, supposedly, allegedly, he had a family. Excuse me, a wife and 3 kids. So that would mean that I have siblings or half siblings or, you know, whatever. It's crazy. So anyway, I was able to get access to my original birth certificate, except that I have not been able to get access to it because I sent in my check, I filled out the information that they asked for. A year and a half ago, the first thing that happened is my first check expired. Now, okay, the pandemic came, so I understand, whatever. It expired. You know, they weren't in the office, didn't get taken care of. But I sent in another check after that, like, I don't know, now it's like 4 months ago or something like that. It's been a year and a half. I still don't have my original birth certificate. And I want to see if there's a man's name on that birth certificate. You know, because I was told that my biological mother refused to give his name and wouldn't put it on the birth certificate, but nobody in life has ever seen my original birth certificate. And I want to know if there's a man's name on that birth certificate. Like, it's kind of driving me a little crazy. And also, I think it's kind of messed up that I can't get information about me, you know? So anyway, I've been waiting and I still haven't gotten it. You know, I saw that somebody I know got their birth certificate the other day, so I'm still hopeful that eventually it's going to happen. But anyway, if you're from the adoption community and you've received yours or whatever, could you leave like a comment below and let me know what the process was and how it happened for you? And I mean, I don't know what else to do. I keep emailing this person who contacted me to let me know that my first check expired. You know, somehow they were able to get in contact with me to get my money. But now I keep emailing like, yo, what's up? Where's my birth certificate? And I still haven't heard anything back. And so I'm just like kind of pissed off about that. You know what I mean? Frustrated, hurt, disappointed, but still protecting myself because I'm like, I guess deep down inside, I feel like I'm not gonna get this birth certificate sent to me. I'm not gonna get a chance to see it. I wanna see it. I wanna see if there's a man's name on it. Like, I already know that I had a different name at birth. That's crazy. You know, I already know that. But I wanna see what other information is on that birth certificate. Wow, somebody's actually running in a cemetery. That's deep. So, that's it for today. I'll let you know what happens. You should watch my movie, I'm Not Hers, when it comes out. It's going to be finished. Hopefully, I'm hoping in July. We're very, very close to finished. You'll hear the whole crazy story about my biological mother, and also it really became my story, you know. And actually, a friend of mine once said to me, she came to a reading of my play, and she said to me, you know what? You don't even have a right to write her story, you know. A right, R-I-G-H-T, to write, W-R-I-T-E, her story. You should write your own story. And I thought I was, but then I realized as I started working on the screenplay for the film that she was right. And so I wrote my story. And sorry if this is kind of shaky. I'm like, my arm is getting tired. But anyway, I think you'll find it interesting, you know, the process that I went through, the complexity of my relationship with my adoptive parents and my biological mother, and my questions and how I was treated when I had questions, and, you know, but I'm going to leave that. You know, please see the film when it comes out. I would really appreciate that. It would be my honor to share that with you. And I also have a play called The Red Plaid Suitcase that I'm going to hopefully be able to get on stage again pretty soon, now that the pandemic is kind of, this era is passing us by, hopefully, and I can get back on stage. But if you see the play, you haven't seen the film, and if you see the movie, you have not seen the play, because they are two very distinctly different stories now, completely different. So I feel good about that. The play is The Red Plaid Suitcase, the film is I'm Not Hers, two very different stories, and I want my original birth certificate. I'm going to end this here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.